3 out of 4 pilots flying over Europe tonight have fallen asleep at the controls within the last month. Not real sleep, a microsleep. A handful of seconds where the brain steps out of the room and leaves the eyes open behind it. 1 in 4 had it happen 5 times or more. Nobody in the cabin noticed a thing. I'm Richard, your airline captain, and these are the 8 things I wish somebody had told me before I ever strapped into that seat. Let's get started. Number 1, and it's the one nobody believes until it happens to them. On the day you're hired, you're handed a number, and that number will run your life far more than your skill ever will. Picture an escalator exactly 1 person wide. You step on the day you sign the contract. You cannot pass the pilot ahead of you, and the pilot behind you cannot pass you. That number decides your base, your aircraft, your Christmas, your holidays, and the year you finally move into the left seat as captain. Here's the part that stings. Move to a shinier airline and the escalator resets to 0, whatever your logbook says. 12,000 hours, 3 type ratings, a chest full of goodwill. None of it carries across. And when the market turns, furloughs run from the bottom up, so the last person hired is the first person home. So the hardest lesson in this career is an unromantic one. A 3-month hesitation at 24 can outweigh a decade of being brilliant at 40. If you know you want this, the expensive thing isn't training, it's waiting. Number 2, the money comes late, and it comes after the fear. Getting to airline minimums costs somewhere between $80,000 and $150,000. Your first year on the line pays roughly $70,000 to $100,000. Do that subtraction while you're 23, sitting in a rented room with a loan statement on the table, and it doesn't feel like a career. It feels like a mortgage with wings. It is genuinely better now than it was. Signing bonuses above $20,000 exist. Tuition reimbursement exists. Cadet programs and pathway schemes exist. None of that existed in any meaningful way when I started, and it changes the maths considerably. But understand the shape of the curve before you commit to it. The salary everybody quotes you belongs to a version of you who is 15 years older. The version of you who shows up first has to survive the gap. Number 3. That quiet 2-hour hop you're sitting on right now may be somebody's 4th sector of a 13-hour day, with no proper break and barely enough time to leave the seat. Nearly 73% of surveyed pilots said the rest between duties simply wasn't enough to recover. That is not a handful of unlucky rosters. That is the normal operating condition of a large part of this industry. Then there's commander's discretion, a rule written for the genuinely exceptional day. The diversion, the emergency, the once-a-year mess. At some carriers, it's become an ordinary scheduling habit, quietly covering for rosters built with no buffer at all. More than 60% of pilots said they were worried about the consequences of refusing one, and only 12% trusted the fatigue reporting system that's meant to protect them. We wouldn't let a surgeon operate in that state. The difference is that you can see the surgeon. Number 4. You think your license is the thing on the paper with your name on it. It isn't. Your entire career actually lives inside a small medical certificate that a doctor renews every 6 to 12 months, and it can be taken from you on a Tuesday morning by a blood pressure reading, a scan, or a word you didn't expect to hear. Lose it and everything stops at once. Not just the line flying. The instructing too, the charter work, the ferry flights, all of it. Because flying privileges are the only product you sell. There's a specific kind of insurance written for exactly this, loss of license cover, built around the occupation rather than a generic definition of disability. Medical disqualification pushes a lot of pilots into early retirement after 50. Buy the parachute in your 20s while it's cheap and while you're convinced you'll never need it. That's the entire point of a parachute. Number 5, and this is the one that has cost lives quietly for decades. The unwritten rule used to be brutally simple. Don't disclose. Don't seek help. Don't risk the certificate. The chair of the National Transportation Safety Board described the result exactly. A culture of silence that is affecting safety. Pilots living through depression, anxiety, grief, divorce, ordinary human weather, deciding it was safer to say nothing. That wall is finally moving. In December 2025, the Aviation Authority cut the waiting period on approved antidepressants from 6 months down to 3 and widened the list of acceptable medications. In May 2026, it went further, putting therapy and counseling guidance directly into the medical examiner's handbook, with resources written for the therapists treating us, and stating plainly that counseling is encouraged where it's medically appropriate. Legislators are pushing harder still. A dedicated mental health and aviation bill passed the House of Representatives unanimously and cleared the Senate Commerce Committee in April 2026, with funding attached to hire more psychiatric examiners and cut the backlog. So here's the honest state of play, because you deserve the honest one. Talk therapy is no longer the trapdoor it was. Medication still runs through a certification process that can ground you. Progress, not resolution. But if you're sitting in a hotel room tonight wondering whether you're allowed to ask for help, the answer has genuinely changed. Number 6. The autopilot is quietly taking something from you, and it never sends a receipt. Researchers put 126 airline pilots into a manual, raw data approach and measured what actually predicted performance. It wasn't total hours. It wasn't years since flight school. It wasn't the type rating. It was recent practice. And the long-haul crews, the ones flying 4 beautiful sectors a month, flew measurably worse. The trap is that the system punishes the cure. Many airlines discourage hand flying on the line because it trips flight data monitoring flags, and a simulator visit twice a year can't carry that load on its own. Researchers who study this are blunt about it. Automation and manual flying aren't a binary choice, and they aren't enemies. There are mixed modes, and the skill is knowing which one you're in and why. Air France 447 is the reason that sentence has weight. Hand fly, the easy day, in good weather, with a rested colleague beside you, so the skill exists on the day nobody chose. Number 7, and it took me years to stop feeling guilty about it. Rest is a procedure, not a weakness. NASA studied overnight long-haul crews and found that a planned 26-minute nap in the seat improved performance by 34% and physiological alertness by as much as 54%. And read that comparison carefully, not against well-rested pilots, but against the crews who chose to push through. That single study shaped controlled rest rules across the world. So set the timer. Brief your colleague. Sleep. I've been the one who slept so deeply the wake-up chime never reached me, and a colleague had to come down and shake me awake. It was embarrassing for about 4 seconds, and then it was simply the system working exactly as designed. Number 8. This industry is a wheel, not a ladder. Boeing forecasts 660,000 new pilots needed worldwide by 2044, and roughly 2/3 of that is just replacing the people walking out the door. Analysts put the widest gap between supply and demand right now, in 2026, at around 24,000 pilots. That's the good half of the wheel, the half with signing bonuses and fast upgrades and recruiters who answer the phone. The other half exists too. It hires nobody, it parks aircraft, and it furloughs from the bottom of that one-person-wide escalator. Everyone in a hiring boom believes the boom is the weather. It's the season. Plan for both, and the 8 lessons collapse into a single one. Protect the number, protect the certificate, protect the sleep, and the flying takes care of itself. Somewhere over the Atlantic tonight, 2 people are sitting in the dark, keeping 400 strangers alive while the strangers watch a film and complain about the chicken. Nobody claps. Nobody knows their names. And if we've done the job properly, nobody ever will. That's what this career actually is, and knowing it early would have saved me a decade of measuring it against the wrong things.